Hello friends, welcome back. My name is Whitley and today we're going to talk about all of the books that I read in April. First things first, we will go over the stats from last month. I participated in a couple of readathons last month, which I think definitely helped me with my volume of reading because I felt like I was reading towards something, reading towards a goal, which absolutely helps me with my reading motivation. I managed to read 9 books last month. I read over 3,000 pages. I got 3,112 pages and my average rating was almost a 4. Such a good reading month. And after not having a single 5-star since the very first book that I read this year, it felt so good to have 2 5-star reads, 2 absolute bangers. I did read quite a bit of romance. I also read some horror, some fantasy, and then some sci-fi, mystery, thriller, dystopian. So my reading was pretty vast last month as well. I love to see the read from before and the new to me authors be about a 50-50 split. Same with the standalones and series. So both of those are right on track. Love to see it. And you can peruse the rest of the stats as you like. A very successful reading month overall, I think. Plus, I just had such a good time with almost all of my books and with participating in the readathons that I did. So great month. Out of the 9 books that I read last month, 5 of those are featured in vlogs, so we'll go over those first. I'm not going to go super in depth about my feelings or what those are kind of about because I do go in depth with them in my vlogs. If you want to know more about them, definitely check those out. The first one was just kind of my kickoff to the magical readathon, and I brought you along as I started reading for my calling. I read 3 books for that video, the first of which was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. A group of 4 elderly friends get to kind of test their wits when their weekly meeting discussing cold case murders turns towards an active investigation surrounding a murder at their retirement village. This was so cute and so wholesome. These elderly people were cracking me up and they are such lovable characters. I gave this 4 stars. The next book I read for that vlog was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is a Hunger Games prequel following President Snow during his senior year of high school, where he is chosen as one of the first ever mentors to be mentoring the tributes during the 10th annual Hunger Games. This had a really strong start, but kind of a lackluster finish for me, but it felt so good to be back in this world. It was so nostalgic, and I just love Suzanne Collins' writing, but I did end up giving this a 3.5. And the last book that I read in that vlog was 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This follows a ragtag group of 6 outcasts going on an impossible heist to try to rescue a doctor who has this drug that in the wrong hands could cause absolute catastrophe. This book was stunning. The found family was unmatched. The characters, the friendships, the relationships, there was so much tension, so much drama, but it was also so humorous. I loved their bickering back and forth with each other. Absolute 5 stars. The next vlog was my first attempt at doing a 48-hour readathon, trying to see how much I could read in a 48-hour period. I ended up reading 2 books for this vlog, the first of which being This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. This is a lyrical, very poetic love story following 2 soldiers on opposite sides of this war through space and time. I honestly am not even really sure what it's about other than this love story, and it is beautifully written, but it was a little bit hard to follow and kind of confusing at times with the prose. Even though it took me longer than it should have to get through 200 pages, it was really lovely and I loved the ending. I gave this 4 stars. And lastly, we have Carrie by Stephen King. This follows a tortured, very bullied young woman with telekinetic powers who decides to get revenge on all of her bullies on prom night. This was creepy. It was very dark. Some of the imagery was very menacing and I did enjoy it, but some of the stuff in here just made me a little uncomfy, and not the, good horror uncomfy, like kind of gross, disgusting, uncomfy. I gave this a 3.5. And now for the 4 books that I have not talked to you about yet. The first of which being The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. Another little shorty by Amal El-Mohtar. This is a beautifully written fairy tale following 2 sisters. These 2 sisters, Isabel and Esther, live on the border of this magical land called Arcadia. And I'm not gonna lie, every time I heard them say Arcadia, you know, vessel is the only thing that came in my head, singing about Arcadia, Sleep Token. I mean, that's besides the point, but I just could not think of anything else but Sleep Token while reading this. Anyway, their job, as was their ancestors' jobs, were to sing to these trees bordering this magical river leading in and out of Arcadia. I don't want to give too much away because this is a very short, quick read. It's only like 125 pages, but the eldest sister, Esther, is being pursued by a young man that lives on the neighboring land to theirs. Esther wants nothing to do with this man. She is already in a relationship of sorts with a magical being from Arcadia. They take many forms, but the most frequent being a stunning woman. But this suitor is not going to take no for an answer. Men, am I right? This was such a beautiful story. Amal's writing is so lyrical and poetic and fantastical. It's so flowery, but the story is also so imaginative. There were these moments where the narrator would kind of break the fourth wall and talk directly to the reader, which I feel like lent really well to the kind of fairy tale story that she was telling. It was kind of like I was being told a bedtime story, and I loved it. Not only is the relationship between Esther and the Arcadian absolutely beautiful, but it was really about the love that these 2 sisters had for each other. And this whole world, even the short time that we spend in it, is so intricate and interesting and immersive. I loved the themes of family, of sacrifice, of love, and a very strange magic system in here, but it was so much fun to read about. I absolutely recommend, if you were going to read this one, to check out the audiobook because it is an entire production. There were sound effects, there was singing, there was music, and it truly like added a whole nother layer and really made this world feel otherworldly. Although the physical book also has like really cool pictures mixed in with some of the chapter breaks. Not that this actually had chapters, but each of the pictures kind of give you a little sneak peek of what was happening in the next section. And that was really cool. So I guess I would suggest immersive reading this one. I ended up giving this 4 stars, like a 4.25 if we're being nitpicky. I think the only reason that I didn't give it a little bit higher was because I don't feel this story really sticking with me, even though it was unique and I did really enjoy it. I don't know, it just felt like it's not something that's going to stick around in my brain for a long time. There was nothing wrong with it. It was a beautiful, lovely story. It just didn't, feel like that 5-star. I would absolutely recommend it though if you like a lyrical, kind of purpley prose little novella following not only a really cute sapphic romance, but the love between 2 sisters. Next, we have The Invited by Jennifer McMahon. In this, we're following a couple who decides to move away from the big city to try their hand at a quieter lifestyle. After looking at countless houses for sale, they decide we're just gonna build our own. The wife, Helen, being a history teacher and being such an avid history lover, really wanted a house that felt like it came with some history. So she wasn't immediately gung-ho on building her own house, but when a realtor shows them a piece of land that he says could be haunted, she is sold. But as they start to build this house, they kind of start to realize that the town doesn't seem to really want them there. This property did come with a little camper, so that's where they're living. And strange things keep happening to them on this property. Things are disappearing. There are unexplainable noises in the night and some more like menacing things are happening. But they are determined to not let these little occurrences scare them off, especially once Helen starts learning more about the history of this land. This land has a very violent past, and the more she starts to learn about it, the more connected she feels to the land, and the more that she feels like she was put here to kind of help the spirit of this land move on or find peace. So there was this woman that lived on this property years and years ago. Her name was Hattie. She could see things before they happened, and she tried to warn people about something bad that was about to happen. Nobody believed her, but then when it actually happened, they blamed her, and that got her hung for witchcraft. But her daughter and her granddaughter also had very gruesome fates, and Helen becomes increasingly obsessed with uncovering this family's secrets and discovering what actually happened to them. Her husband, Nate, also gets kind of sucked into his little obsession, even though he's constantly nagging her about her obsession. We actually flip back and forth with perspectives with Helen, and there's also a teenage girl named Olive. Her mother has mysteriously disappeared. Everybody thinks that she ran off with another man, but Olive is not buying it. So she also goes down like a bit of a rabbit hole of discoveries, trying to find out what happened to her mother. And the way everything was connected and kind of like brought together at the end was interesting enough, but I'm not gonna lie. If I wasn't reading this for the Magical Readathon, I probably would have DNF'd it. I don't know why, but I just could not get into this story. The premise sounded so intriguing. I just never really cared what was happening to any of these characters. I feel like besides their obsession, these characters had very little personality. I saw the, who done it. There was like a bit of a mystery aspect of not just the paranormal stuff, but there was like a bit of a side mystery going on, especially with Olive's mother's disappearance. I saw that coming from like halfway through the book, and I unfortunately just could not get into this one. I gave it a 2.5. I would be willing to try another Jennifer McMahon. I mean, I've heard good things about her, but maybe she's just not for me. Next, we have They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. By day, Scarlett is a beloved English teacher at Gorman University, but by night, she finds men who deserve to die. Abusers, predators, rapists, and she makes them pay for their crimes because she cannot just stand by and watch as these horrendous men go unpunished. She is judge, jury, and executioner. She takes out these deserving men around her campus one by one. She is very careful. Her slow-paced kills have allowed her to go unnoticed. She rides under the radar. Her kills are very methodical. She plans everything out. All of these deaths so far have looked like suicides until her most recent mark does not quite go as planned. This leads to not only the feds coming to sniff around, but also a fellow professor, Samina, at Gorman University. She starts doing some digging into all of these suicides that have happened over the years at this university, and that makes Scarlett have to kind of do some damage control on both fronts. Meanwhile, we're also following a college freshman named Carly. She moves in with her roommate, and they instantly have this connection. And when her roommate is SA'd at a party, everything changes. Carly convinces her to reach out, try to get help, to seek justice, but the way that they are met with just shrug-offs and platitudes was infuriating. The way that literally everyone but Carly was so nonchalant about what happened to this poor girl was heartbreaking. I can't even begin to imagine what having something like that would do to you. That being said, it was really sad to see kind of the change that happened to Carly's roommate. When this happened, she kind of lashed out, became very angry at Carly, and all Carly was trying to do was help. Oh my gosh, the way that these two storylines converge and you find out how they're connected, so good. I do think I kind of wish that it would have happened a little bit further on in the book. I feel like it happened a little too soon. Like that was a big reveal, and that usually comes later on in the book, and this happens earlier. I won't say when, but it was brilliant, I will say. And I just loved the back and forth. It always kept me wanting more. It kept me wanting to turn the pages. This book was not only such a powerful look at what women have to go through even after an assault like that happens, not only having to deal with the actual assault, but the aftermath of it, of the blaming, the, shoving it under the rug, the gaslighting. It also just did such a great job at showcasing all of just the little things that women are expected to put up with. So many things that, women are just supposed to let slide because, boys will be boys. The victim blaming in this was absolutely crazy, and it breaks my heart to think that stuff like this happens in real life on a regular basis. And the fact that so many men and people go unpunished. I loved the feminine rage in this. It was absolutely next level. And the poignancy aside, it was just a really great story. It was a good thriller. I loved the contrasting storylines of Carly's kind of anxiousness and self-consciousness versus Scarlett's very calm, methodical nature. She is always in control. This book was also so gay, and I was eating it up. It wasn't perfect. I mean, I wasn't enthralled the entire time. There were some slow moments, but this book made me want to absolutely turn into a Scarlett and find deserving men and just off them. And even though there were some slow moments, it did constantly keep me interested and wanting to turn the pages. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was really good. I do recommend it if you like a feminine rage story, if you like a good thriller. Check this one out. And lastly, we have Game On by Nevessa Allen. This is the 3rd installment in the Into Darkness, I believe, trilogy. I think this is the last one, unfortunately. Lights Out was phenomenal. Caught Up was good. It was a bit of a letdown after reading Lights Out, but I did enjoy it. So going into this one, my expectations weren't super high. And I honestly thought just the perfection of Lights Out could not be duplicated. But she is back, baby. I feel like this one really got back some of the levity that Lights Out did so well. Caught Up was a little bit more broody, but this one did it for me again. This had me giggling. I was constantly grinning, and I was absolutely kicking my feet. And if you're wondering, Whitley, what is this book about? Let me tell you. We follow Tyler, Josh's best friend. Josh is the protagonist in Lights Out, and we have met Tyler in both the 1st and 2nd book in the series. He is on a revenge mission to destroy his father, and he is pretty much willing to do anything to achieve that goal, including blackmailing a woman who he believes is everything wrong with the world. Wealthy, privileged, protected her entire life from taking responsibility for any of her wrongdoings. Enter Stella. She is a black cat baddie tattoo artist who would do anything to protect her family, including accepting a deal from a dangerous, egotistical asshole, a deal that invites Tyler into Stella's inner circle as her fake boyfriend. They instantly hate each other, but they are also instantly kind of obsessed and very attracted to each other. I loved seeing their progression through this, especially Tyler's. I loved seeing him realize that Stella was not what he thought she was. Both of these characters are pretty morally gray, especially Tyler, and I honestly can't describe to you why Tyler's narcissistic assholery was not an instant turnoff. I mean, probably because we do kind of get glimpses of him, especially in book 1, of how protective he is of the people that he cares about, of Josh. And even though he was constantly tormenting, pretty much downright bullying and making fun of Stella the entire time, he did still do things to show that he did care about her. And Stella was giving it right back. It was a very much back and forth thing, and you could tell that they were both enjoying themselves, even if they didn't want to admit it. Speaking of things they didn't want to admit to each other, they also could not keep their hands off of each other. It was so good. While this definitely did have some darker and deeper themes, you definitely want to check your trigger warnings. Their dynamic and their relationship was just so much fun. And the spice, do not even get me started on the spice in this book. I could read a whole book of this woman's spice writing. It is so well written, so steamy. It is so good. Also, the humor in this. Nevessa Allen's humor may not be for everybody, but it hits so hard for me. This book had me in an absolute chokehold. I am not even kidding. When I wasn't reading this book, I was doing nothing but thinking about these characters and thinking about picking the book up again. And when I was reading it, it consumed me. The character development that we got to see in both of these characters was so lovely. The relationships, not just of Tyler and Stella, but the friendships as well. So good. The plot, the tension, the drama, the humor, the vigilante justice. It was all just so damn good. I cannot give a raving enough review about this book. 5 stars, obviously. I don't know how widely I would recommend this just because it is a very dark, very spicy rom-com, but if that interests you and you haven't checked out Lights Out, what are you doing? Please do it. And those are the 9 books that I read in April. Now we are going to go over some superlatives. The first of which is the best book of the month. And I was so happy that I actually had 2 5 stars to choose from. Imagine. But I have to go with Game On by Nevessa Allen. Next is the best audiobook of the month. This was so close to being Game On by Nevessa Allen. I mean, the duet narration style, obsessed. Both of these narrators are acting their asses off and they do such a great job. Every romance series needs to take notes from these audiobooks, but I have to go with The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. I mean, this audiobook was an entire production. It really took this book to a whole nother level. It was phenomenal. And we can't talk about the best without talking about the least best. My least favorite book is pretty obvious. It is The Invited by Jennifer McMahon, unfortunately. I just could not get into this one. Wasn't for me. What book will I be recommending most? I mean, like I said, Game On may not be very widely recommendable, so it's not going to be this one, even though it was my favorite. I feel like everybody and their mother recommends Six of Crows, and I am part of that group, absolutely. But with it being so recommended already, I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to go with They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is such a good feminist thriller. Granted, the jaw-dropping twist happens a little early for my taste. There is a little bit of a twist later on, but I thought it was pretty obvious. But overall, such a good thriller, especially if you like good for her revenge and feminist themes. The biggest surprise, I think, is honestly gonna have to go to Six of Crows. After the very up and down journey I had with the Grishaverse trilogy, loved Shadow and Bone, but Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising, I was not a huge fan of. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect out of this one. I know that, again, everybody and their mother loves this book, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like it with how I felt about the later part of the trilogy, but I am so happy to say that the hype is warranted. So good. The biggest disappointment, I think I am unfortunately going to have to go with Carrie. I did like this one. I liked the good things about it so much, but the things that I did not like about it, I really didn't like about it. And with it being an older king, like, I kind of knew going in that there was going to be some maybe like icky things, but I was sad to see the amount of ickiness in this book. So a little disappointing. The most beautiful cover, a very close race between Carrie, absolutely stunning, I love this cover, and The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. Very different vibes, but I think for generally most beautiful, I have to go with The River Has Roots. And lastly, new favorite character. And you know what? You can't make me choose. I make the rules, and I'm just saying Six of Crows. You can't make me choose. I can't. I won't. I love them all so much. But as a little bit of a honorable mention, the quartet in the Thursday Murder Clubs were also to die for. I am just so satisfied. I am so happy that I had such a good reading month. Hopefully I can carry that momentum forward into the following months. Hopefully I can continue to pick some bangers because it felt so good to have 2 5 stars. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you want to just let me know that you were here and that you've made it this far. Leave me any kind of bird, because we had quite a few birds this month. We had Six of Crows. We had the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This Is How You Lose the Time War has 2 birds on the cover. So yeah, leave me some birds. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. I hope you are loving what you are reading lately. Continue to stay safe out there, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye, friends.
Fight for your goal, then make me. You didn't think I'd be here waiting up all night, all night. I'm here to tell you something. There ain't another love that is gonna hold you down like mine.